Former Hawkeye Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever will have a new head coach next season. The organization announced they have parted ways with Christie Sides after 2 years.
Breaking news, the Indiana Fever's head has left. I repeat, the Indiana game with Coach Christie's side. Fever has ultimately decided on. You heard that Coach Sides was dismissed. Yes, the same coach who only used LEDs. Them to their initial postseason appearance. Since 2016 is currently unemployed. It seems insane, doesn't it? But believe me, there is a approach to this insanity.
Sides went 33-47 in her 2 seasons and helped lead the Fever to their first playoff appearance since 2016. Sides coached 2 #1 picks and Rookies of the Year in Clark and Aaliyah Boston.
View the Fever isn't simply trying to appear nice. They no longer aspire to be great, seeking to regain a title too. In Indiana, Caitlin Clark is the league's most thrilling athlete. Aaliyah Boston is one of their rising stars. They have Kelsey as their dominant star. Mitchell is the ideal backcourt player. Well done, Clark. They have Lexi. The most accurate three-point shooter is Hull. Shooter in the league, in addition to sufficient cap room to sign some high caliber. Now, free agents require a coach who can make titles out of this talent, but who will be featured in this video. Explore in depth the Christie Sids choice that might have resulted in it. Additional instances of timeless masterpieces following their inaugural season with a new coach. Season and the most recent information on potential possibilities for Caitlin Clark's. Please get a new coach before we dissect it. Remember to sign up for the channel. Are you prepared to leave?
Is in the second year of a 4-year deal with Indianapolis, who will now begin their coaching search immediately.
Recall the moment when the Indiana Fever were ridiculed by the WNBA. Well, people, those days are done. The Fever battled for years to establish a competitive squad mired in mediocrity, and observing the postseason from their couches, which were very different from their days of the championship with Tama Catchings. However, the 2024 season arrived, and with the excitement surrounding Caitlin Clark's entrance, real fans were giddy over this. It was meant to be the year that everything altered, and the Fever eventually stumbled out of the gates with an unimpressive 1-win, 8-loss record, All of a sudden, fans' enthusiasm turned to annoyance. Were requesting the sides of Coach Christie. It appeared to be the same old Fever.
Pressure got to her. The pressure 100% got to her, because remember at the start of the year being like, oh, Caitlin has all these bad habits and let's throw players under the bus, and we need more paint touches, and not even the pressure got to her. She's had no idea early in the year how to coach Caitlin. And I have to give her credit, is that she actually did get better as the year went.
Precisely when everyone was prepared to dismiss them. When Fever started to burn, they went on an incredible tear, winning 19 of their subsequent 31 games. Was similar to watching the ball was a totally other squad. Moving images were dropping, and all of a sudden, it was entertaining to rewatch the Fever. And let's take a moment to discuss Caitlin Clark. Second, she wasn't just a good girl, was good historically, but Clark was breaking 62 records from left to right that demonstrate an overall game with supporters, and both analysts are amazed at the turnaround. Christie sides the stage because it was so dramatic. Fans wanted the same coach dismissed previously and was named the WNBA Coach of the Season. Discuss a story twist for the month of August. The coach got a Fever for the first time. Never in a long time been granted such honor.
It's always important to give credit where it's due, and I think we all realize where the credit needs to be given as far as the success of this WNBA season. Caitlin Clark came in and made such an impact.
All of this enthusiasm resulted in the sweetest playoff prize of all. Berth. The number 6 was sealed by the Fever. Seed that ends a postseason streak of 8 years. Basketball was relevant, just like that. Once more in Indiana, but this is where things stand. Become fascinating in spite of all this achievement. There were still murmurs and whispers that perhaps the team could even out. Clark herself alluded to some complaints about the coaching staff, and she acknowledged one pivotal occasion.
Nobody gives me advice in the game. I wish.
That isn't really bright. Support for the in-game tactics of your head coach, management, and the start of the playoffs were bounced in the vicinity of the Fever. The Connecticut Sun's first round served as a sobering reminder that although they'd come a long way, but there was still much more to proceed, as we're going to observe creating the playoffs were insufficient to save teams. Work that the Fever had experienced a taste of achievement, and now they desired the entire meal you believed would help you make the playoffs, considering that an 8-year drought was sufficient. Once more, the front office of Fever had additional ideas, and we're going to release a shocking revelation that would rock the whole WNBA.
When Kelly came, it was 50-50 for Christie sides and Lynn Dunn. Kelly was going to come and clean house. Now, I'm here to tell you that is exactly what Kelly is doing. They finna, bro, this is crazy, dog.
The group had at last returned to. Caitlin Clark was establishing the playoffs. The fans were thrilled, and the league was on fire. It seemed like the beginning of the future, of something unique in Indiana. The off-season was meant to be a period of celebration for extending that achievement and moving forward, but we were aware something was about to change. They were cleaning the house when the Fever struck, appointed a new president not long ago, and Kelly Krakoff, the mastermind behind the prior Fever championship with Tom Catchings, as well as most recently of the front office of the Indiana Pacers. GM Lynn Dunn was then relieved of her responsibilities, putting her in an advising position. Afterward, they employed a league veteran. Amber Cox, an insider, will become a general manager to make the most of her strong relationships. Includes the players and agents of the league clubs. Then, we were aware that the writing was on the wall. When the news broke, Christie's sides were revealed as currently the Indiana Fever's head coach. Prior to delving into the reasons, let's first pause to identify which sides. Completed, she assembled a group that had been the league's laughingstock and made them a contender for the playoffs. Sides made every effort with she deserved credit for the tools she had. For that,
Christie sides credit, like, for morale, for team bonding, for keeping everyone's head up, for making sure the team were all on the same page, for making sure that, like, in like the mental stuff, which is as important as anything in basketball, like, she was good with all the mental stuff. Like, obviously they really had a tough time with all the social media stuff, especially early. And we saw what happened with the Chicago Sky with Teresa Weatherspoon, where she did a horrible job at that. We saw Christie Sides doing a good job of getting all the team being in a good position with social media stuff. So we got to give credit.
Actually, the reaction to the dismissal was classy. She posted on Twitter to display a sort of, even in difficult times, you love to witness grace moments, so I'm grateful to Coach Sides for contributing to the ship's writing and receiving. The Fever has returned to normal.
I think Christie Sides did as good a job as she possibly could have done with the team, because it was more important to get this team together, forgetting about the social media crap, to stop any sort of like potential resentment towards Caitlin Clark from her inside her own team, because there was some resentment from outside it. For getting Caitlin Clark to kind of come out of her shell as a person during the season. I thought Christie Sides did a really good job, and I actually think for year one, that is more important than good coaching.
However, in the ruthless world of professional sports can occasionally be both good and the Fever is too high for mediocre, evidently striving for more, and they think Sid simply didn't have a high coaching ceiling sufficient to get them to their desired destination. Thus, let's examine the causes of this startling choice initially, and first and foremost, defense was a significant concern. The Fever's defensive throughout the season. Difficulties were evident, particularly when it was crucial during the regular. The Fever's defense rating for the season was among the worst teams of all. They simply seemed unable to stop when they needed them most, frequently losing close games as a result of late defensive mistakes and terrible calls in a league where defense is the main focus. Wins titles, this was a warning sign. Stuff was impossible to overlook.
But a lot of the things she did well were like good assistant coach things. Things you want from a good assistant coach. Not your head coach. Was she good in game adjustments? No. Was she good at making subs? No. Was she good at making, like, seeing what the other teams were doing and game planning for that? No.
Then, there is the matter of optimizing Caitlin Clark's extraordinary abilities. Look, Clark had a fantastic debut, breaking records left and right throughout the season. However, certain individuals within the company believed that sides weren't going far enough in release all of Clark's potential. The Fever obviously thinks they can locate a coach capable of elevating Clark's performance to even higher elevations, but possibly the largest. A consideration in this choice is the return of Kelly Kra as the basketball operations president. This is a game-changing crack-off, people. Is not only any executive, rather, she is the creator of the most successful Fever. She oversaw this from 2000 until 2018. 13 postseason appearances for the team, 1 championship and 3 WNBA finals. She is aware of what it takes to create a champion, and she isn't going to mess around about.
This is about the Indiana Fever. Yes, we have a foundational player in Caitlin Clark and Leah Boston, and we're going to continue to add to that. But I want this team to be the leader in the country.
The return of Koff indicates a dramatic change in the. She has created the organization's ideology. Evident that the objective isn't merely to be competitive, it will introduce a new WNBA, returning to Indiana with a championship in her own terms, yet choices such as these are never simple, but it's also essential that we continue to be fearless and assertive in your quest of one of our objectives, which is to maximize our abilities and adding another WNBA, returning to Indiana with the championship. Not only talk to people, that's a proclamation of intent. This action demonstrates that Koff feels that the Fever can draw on a larger, knowledgeable coach who is capable of this youthful, gifted core and shape them, become a legitimate contender, and let's face it, everything is in place. Caitlin Clark is Aaliyah Boston is a multi-generational talent who, Kelsey, the budding star in the front court. Mitchell has demonstrated that he can take Lexi Hull's pressure on Clark has become one of the greatest in the league. The cap is added by 3-point shooters. Room for POPO to add a few important free agents. Now you have the foundation for a possible dynasty.
The new GM literally starts her job tomorrow. And that's what everyone said. And they were like, nothing is going to happen until the new GM comes in. And obviously her first thing is hiring a new coach. But again, I do want to give credit where credit's due to Christie Sides. Like, to say Christie Sides did no good is wrong.
However, all of that potential is meaningless without the why is the correct person in charge of the ship. While Christie's dismissal decision may appear harsh at first glance, but it's a maneuver that highlights the Fever's high goals. They're not satisfied with simply being good because they aspire to be great, desire to be champions, and think that they require a coach who can help them get there. To compete with the extraordinary talent on their roster, the pressure is on right now. The next coaching hire is going to be quite important. It correctly, and we might be observing the beginning of the next great dynasty in the WNB. Make a mistake and lose all of this potential. Might be wasted, but one thing's for sure. Indeed, with a proactive management style and a full of young stars on the roster, the Indiana Fever are fully committing to their dreams of a championship, and they're not hesitant to make the difficult choices too. If you've come this far, get there, and are having fun with the video, remember to like to subscribe and activate everything notifications that we are aware of while viewing this. It takes some time to watch the video, and we thank you. Let's get back to the action.
I gotta give credit to the Indiana Fever for not saying mediocre is enough.
Describe a high WNBA's high-stakes musical chairs game. The team is frantically looking for new coaches. However, only one features Caitlin Clark. Roster that will win the Golden. They have a ticket to coach the Fever. Goal to establish a dynasty, and they're at warp speed. Just take a look at the modifications they've made in the last 12 months. Basketball operations, new president. Fresh general manager, and they're now on. The search for a new head coach is similar to. They are strictly adhering to a blueprint. Remember to leave the sports history books. When Phil was acquired by the Chicago Bulls. When Will Jackson coach Michael Jordan. Brian was hired by the Los Angeles Sparks. How about an angler to guide Candace Parker? When the Phoenix Mercury arrived. Diana Taurasi will be coached by Sandy Brondello, or when a Donovan was employed by the Seattle Storm to lead Lauren Jackson and Sue Bird. Those actions altered everything for those. Franchises are currently attempting to compose a chapter of their own in that narrative.
Custom. Really get Indiana back to a deeper playoff run, look for their second championship, and that is related to some of the names that we have out there. I think also you just see that, this is an organization that knows that they have a great player in Caitlin Clark, and they want to have someone that can future-proof and really see the vision of how the WNBA is going to maneuver moving forward. And so at this time, at least, it sounds like the Indiana Fever, they've made other changes as well, but they think that moving on from Christie sides is probably the best bet.
With Boston Kelsey, Aaliyah, and Caitlin Clark. On the roster are Mitchell and Lexi Hall. This tutoring assignment for Fever is suddenly the hottest person in town. We're discussing a squad with talent from the younger generation. Same to receiving the keys to a sports vehicle and instructed to go win the Indy 500. A coach who is worth their salt would be drooling over the chance. But here's when things grow complicated. The Fever isn't the sole squad in search of a new coach. And truth that the WNBA has 5 other clubs also on the search, which is almost. Coaches make up half of the league. This offseason, the competition is roulette. Extremely competitive for elite prospects, to put it mildly. The Fever has at least one difference. So, who is the frontrunner, Caitlin Clark? To serve as the upcoming head coach of the. There is only one name for the Indiana Fever. Stephanie whitened everyone's lips and aloud. This would be a homecoming, I assure you. Forever.
There was a lot of conversation regarding Stephanie White. Now, Stephanie White has played in the WNBA. She was an assistant on the Indiana Fever when they won the championship with the great Tamika Catchings in 2012. And she also was the head coach for the organization before moving to the NCAA and finally returning to the WNBA with the Connecticut Sun.
White isn't a color. She is Indian basketball royalty, coach. Purdue was where she played her collegiate ball, led the Craze as a participant, and even led them to the 2015 WNBA Finals. Discuss coming full circle, but White's current contract is with the Sun from Connecticut, where she recently won. Yes, the 2023 Coach of the Year honor. Yes, you heard correctly, the Fever is. A past Coach of the Year is being considered to oversee the teaching of their youthful squad. White style might be just what the physician needs. Prescribed for her well-known Fever. Her focus on robust defense, which is music to Fever enthusiasts' ears who observe their team's difficulties on that end of last season's floor, and don't forget that she has already shown she can prevail. During her 2 seasons in Indiana as the head coach of Fever, she guided them to the playoffs in both years, including that appearance in the finals.
Yeah, it's exciting. Certainly I was born and raised in Indiana, and so have a lot of pride in Indiana basketball, and a lot of pride in the Fever organization, being a player and a coach there. And it's exciting what's happening with the organization and where they are. I mean, most organizations have their ups and downs, certainly. But I'm proud of the growth of the Indiana Fever. Excited, about the future of the Indiana Fever.
However, avoid penciling. There is still another in White's name. Fascinating applicant who has the ability to. If that name sounds familiar, check out Lisa Bleer. Because Bleer was Caitlin, it is familiar. Clark's Iowa College coach discusses The resume of a dynamic duo BL is nothing to. She's won more than 875 games in her coaching career, which resulted in Iowa supporting to support the NCAA championship game. She's the greatest. The most successful coach in the women's Big Ten. The woman has the ability to win in history and straightforward.
Caitlin's light shines, it shines on all of you. And I try to remind our team of that all the time. We're going to enjoy that light and it helps all of us.
The idea of getting back together. It's enough that Clark has her college coach to finally make Fever fans ecstatic. No one is more familiar with Clark's game than Bleer. She assisted in changing Clark from a renowned recruit into the majority of dazzling athlete in women's B. The chemistry in basketball is already. It could result in a seamless change when Clark starts her sophomore year. In the WNBA season, there is just one small. Recently, wrinkle Blutter retired from coaching. She has said in public that she probably won't go back to the sidelines, but this is the point at which Fever enthusiasts have been vocal about fascinating things regarding requesting Bleer for the position, and everyone is aware of Clark's potential effect. The chance to mentor Clark once again be sufficient to entice Blutter to come out of retirement. Stranger incidents have occurred in the sports world.
Truly, Caitlin has a different set of rules because she's a special player and she has different talents than most people have.
Then there's Cheryl, the wild card. Indeed, that is Cheryl Miller, the Hall of Famer, the basketball icon, the woman who altered Miller's game. WNBA coaching experience, but has lack of explicit interest in re-entering the league, and her relationship to Indiana, let's simply mention her name, holds significance in basketball circles. Anywhere, even in the Hoosier State, Miller's arrival would be a daring move. She is without a doubt the star. Power, the winning, and basketball IQ. Can you picture the intensity of Pedigree Plus? She would bring it to the sidelines. Electrifying, and she has already demonstrated Clark's leadership of the All-Star squad to destroy the American Olympic team during the 2024 All-Star game.
I hugged her. I said, I'm so proud of you. I go, savor this. Use this as a formula. I said, but keep being you. I said, no matter what, keep being you.
Whoever ends up receiving. One thing about the work is crystal clear. You had best be prepared to win big. Fever is searching for more than just a coach. They want to win a title. They're looking for an architect that can take this youthful, gifted group and shape them. Becoming a dynasty, there is pressure on uncertainty, but that's the cost of managing a group with this much promise. While we await the onset of the Fever decision, one thing is certain. Isn't the entire basketball world watching? Merely looking for a new coach. It's about determining the future's path of the franchise. The goal is to maximize Caitlin Clark-Aaliyah's abilities. The rest of this youthful core, including Boston, reviving a title is the goal. To Indiana, who will be in charge. Caitlin Clark along with the group to the only time will tell, but promised land. There is no doubt that the 2025 season, unable to arrive fast enough.
Whoever takes this job is either going to be, you're either going to be criticized, maybe wrongfully, but criticized more than your coach. But if you succeed, you are the GOAT coach. Like, if somebody wins 3 rings with Caitlin Clark, and let's just say Cheryl Reeve has won 4 with Maya Moore, whoever wins 3 rings with Caitlin Clark is going to be considered the best coach of all time.
All right, let's discuss the future of Indiana Fever since it's appearing more brilliant than a supernova. The team is loaded and not only talented. Caitlin Clark is a fantastic rookie who's rewriting the record books already. Aaliyah Boston is an influential painter. She is only beginning to explore her. Kelsey Mitchell could be the ideal Clark's backcourt partner, and not to mention Lexi Hull, who has become the beyond the arc sniper. We're talking about Fever having cap space, significant funds to attract a well-known. This roster's free agents could come from fantastic to get completely piled quickly. Everything depends on this coaching choice, but the appropriate coach could Transform this group into a powerhouse A. The WNBA's dominant dynasty for years to come, but choose poorly. To put it simply, the clock will be ticking since the first day. The potential is. Now, people, it's up to the Fever too. Do you agree with the plan to make it happen? Let us know your decision in the comment section. Like to subscribe and activate everything. Alerts to ensure you don't miss anything. Select the video that appears on the screen and I'll see you at the following one.